Welcome to another episode of Your Brain On by Salience Learning. I'm Karen Foster.
And I'm Krista Gerhard.
And if you tuned in to our last episode, there we began the discussion around Krista's article published by L10 titled 5 Steps to Boosting the Impact and Strategic Value of Learning and Development.
That's right. We talked about building a bridge between your team and your business partners and the importance of learning and development communicating the why for their recommendations, their decisions, and the designs of their learning solutions.
Today we'll talk about the last 3 key steps.
Karen, last time we talked about the importance of explaining the why behind the decisions and the design choices that learning and development professionals make. Having that ability to explain the why really helps to empower your ability to execute on step 3 of being a strategic partner. And that's really that ability to respectfully challenge. Challenging without providing the why or challenging in a way that is disrespectful to others doesn't get you very far in building the bridges, right? But if we have that ability to connect the why to your position or your thoughts behind a particular subject or decision being made, you have that ability to respectfully challenge your stakeholders. Karen, I think there's a lot of opportunities that we see on a daily basis when it comes to design choices, specifically working with matrix team partners where their background and their area of expertise is not learning and development. Their area of expertise is knowing the customer. Their area of expertise is knowing the marketplace and being able to build resources and content that will resonate. But their area of expertise is not learning and development. So oftentimes, I think you can relate to this, is that they come in with that curse of knowledge where they think they know things, or because they've been knee deep in market research for a very scientific, complex clinical and economic value prop, and they get it, and therefore everyone else will get it, and it shouldn't take much time. So that value prop is 2 hours on your agenda. Everybody should do it like this, and we should be good to go. As a learning and development professional, that's an opportunity for us to respectfully challenge by providing the why. I can think of many situations where that's occurred, but Karen, maybe you could crystallize one for us today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the one situation that comes to mind was the one conversation of many, I would say, typifies many, but one in particular where a senior market access executive, had a vision of a certain number of hours dedicated to, product and scientific, medical, clinical, very heavy data, and was kind of mapping it out at about 6 hours of sort of didactic slide after slide presentation from the medical teams. And not to say that knowledge isn't relevant or valuable, but for the audience, right? We know from adult learning, you have to make things, relevant at the time and take in the learner's perspective and prioritize their needs and point of view. So what we did was, come back and kind of respectfully challenge with the back support of the why of adult learning theory and cognitive science, saying how that would be a bit of cognitive overload and might lead to individuals not absorbing anything or less, and thus the meeting being not as having a high of return on investment, and really speaking that stakeholders' language, but also providing the expertise from the learning and development professionals' perspective. And what happened was the design we ended up putting forth and executing was a kind of a modularized, 3 hour, 1 hour, 3 1 hour rotations where the learners were able to digest, very chunked and specific relevant content, but manageable in 3 separate 1 hour sessions where they also had movement and regrouping with different colleagues of theirs. And so kind of leveraging both the cognitive practice of chunking knowledge, as well as giving people some social exposures in social psychological learning elements. And it really shined. And that senior market access executive has become a huge proponent. And, so it turned out to be, respectfully challenging led to better outcomes and better learning for the customer facing roles. So, but I think the important point too is just because you challenge doesn't mean you win. And look, there'll be certain things that just, because of time and energy or resources, it's just impossible to, but don't ever give up. I think that's the mantra and the motto that we have at Salience in bringing the science of learning to the business of science is change takes time. And this type of approach and these types of suggestions that L&D can make as a true strategic partner, it's going to be different for most of the broader organization. And so just, manage that like most of those of us that have field facing experience did when we had a customer who said, I'm never going to use your product. And, lo and behold, a year later, they're, big believers. That doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. So just continually respectfully challenging as you go. So,
yeah, no, I think that's a great point, and it leads nicely into step 4, where another key component of becoming that strategic partner, of being that strategic partner, is continuously communicating and aligning with your stakeholders. You made the comment, change doesn't happen overnight, and you may not have everyone buy in immediately to what you're trying to communicate and to what you're trying to deliver. But with time and explanation and due diligence, you have that ability to almost create a following of what you believe to be important for your learning and development organization. And at Salience, we really believe it's about the adult learning principles, about ensuring that we put that learner first in everything that we do, and helping our stakeholders who may be very content focused, who may be very customer focused, also come on board that in between the content and the customer is a person, and that person is your learner population. And we need everybody to understand what it takes to help develop and evolve that learner, which is our customer facing field teams. So we need that communication and that continuous alignment.
Yeah, and Krista, just as you were talking, it's so paints the picture of that sort of agile development process, right? Where as the learning and development professional, to be strategic, you have to kind of be, yoked, one would say, tied together with your key stakeholders, in the sense that, you're close to them, especially in this day and age of, as we started talking on the previous episode of COVID and some, lack of clarity and unknowns, right? To stay really close and tight to what those day by day, sometimes within a day, changes and information flows can happen. And that takes a lot. It's a lot more than I think L&D's previous experience was within an organization, but it really benefits the learner, like you said, and then it also drives the strategic value. So giving the ability to sort of be part of the discussions along the way. And really that leads to key step 5, delivering the project. Because, it definitely, we've all worked, sort of long nights towards the end of project timelines. But if you're neck and neck sort of with someone along the way, you have that continuous communication. I know at Salience, our projects have definitely benefited in that we deliver a successful program that has, the whys incorporated, and we've incorporated perspectives, but without, too many time crunches, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. I think each step is the key to number 5. Delivering that project with success must first come by being the bridge, communicating the why, communicating frequently and often, and ensuring there's alignment. These are all key things that really make a project successful. And honestly, you build relationships, you build partnerships. You don't just build a project. You're building the team that's able to deliver those types of projects. So, great discussion, Karen.
Well, for those the people listening, we're in the trenches often with you in designing and developing materials, and we understand how it feels and want to just share our experiences in order to continue evolving the strategic partnership of L&D.
Thanks for listening to Your Brain On by Salience Learning. Be sure to subscribe to us on your favorite podcast listening app to stay up to date on the latest in learning and development. I'm Krista Gerhard.
I'm Karen Foster.
And we'll see you next time.